All right, good afternoon. Good afternoon, everybody. Should be live on YouTube, and I should be live in the virtual trading floor. Hope everyone had a relaxing day today because the market told everyone to take a rest, and the market took a rest too. I got some earnings names sitting here after the close. I think we're waiting on Uber. It's one of the bigger ones. Let me do the disclosure. I'm an associate member of T3 Trading Group, which is an SEC registered broker dealer and member of FINRA SIPC. All of my trades are placed through T3 Trading Group. You should carefully consider whether trading is suitable for you in light of your own financial condition. There's the position disclosure. So I'm out of KRE as of Friday, and I updated Upstart to its new symbol. UPST is now BYON. They rebranded themselves Beyond, I guess because they bought out Bed Bath and Beyond, so they're Beyond now. BYON. Oh, did I say Upstart? I meant to say Overstock. Uh, yeah, no, Overstock. Oh, OSTK, not Upstart. Uh, So I'm in that, so I probably should know that information. Anyway, that is the position disclosure. Let's go over to the market. Let's talk about it a little bit. So the SPYs here up about 0.2%. The Qs up 0.34%. The IWM, I don't mind that the IWM is down. I was saying that earlier. I don't mind that it's down given how big the move was. What I don't like is the degree of relative weakness in the IWM versus the Qs today. I'd rather see a broader across the board time correction or everything price correcting together at this point, given how big the move has been into today's trading session. So the IWM here is certainly a disappointment. It was another day of wide dispersion. So you can find stocks that are right there, like Apple up 1.4%. It's your largest market cap stock. So really impressive move on Apple. In general today, all these FANG names did very well. Microsoft is up over 1% at the end of the day here. Amazon's up 0.75%. But then if you look at growth tech got absolutely demolished. ARK is down 1.7% or so. And a lot of these growth names you can type up and you'll see them down anywhere from percent, depending on the one that you look at. Unity, position that I'm in, was obviously super brutal to hear, brutal today. Yeah, my internet is in and out. Can't get symbols up right now. There it goes. Yeah, Unity down almost 7%. SoFi off 6.4%. Um, that Overstock I was mentioning gave back like all of its gains. I know it's only down like 3.5% as of the close, only down 3.5%. Again, the market's green today, so growth was brutal. A lot of dispersion there. Financials finished red, but they were a little bit more of a rest day. XLF down 0.3% on the day. Energy down 1.2%. So that's another spot of larger weakness here with energy. So again, really kind of a boring day here for the indices, the SPYs and the Qs in particular. It's a very tight inside day. Rest is bullish for the market. We came into the morning meeting today saying that there's nothing to do. I didn't even publish a list this morning because there was no stocks that I liked. It's Monday morning. We are still in earnings season. The earnings season is going to begin to slow down throughout this week and will be much less by next week. But it's Monday morning, so we didn't have a lot of names that we're reporting to focus on. The upgrades and downgrades, I didn't see anything interesting there. And it's just about this market resetting up. When a market has a really big move like it did over the course of the last, 5 trading sessions into today, it needs to reset up. It needs to pull back and create a higher low that could become a buy signal. It needs to go sideways and make a bull flag that could become a buy signal. Or maybe this rally fully fails. This rally is not yet a reversal. I was saying that also in the morning meeting. Reversal would bring you up from a pattern of lower highs and lower lows to a pattern of higher highs and higher lows. That is not what we have here. We have a market that has just gone straight vertically up for 5 trading sessions coming into today. So this market that's gone straight up, it needs to rest. So we talked about how you could look for some shorts today if we get like an RDR. SPYs never RDR. They're an inside day. They never broke above yesterday's highs. The Qs did, but it was not an easy trade because the Qs were so relatively strong. Or, at these larger degrees of extension, especially if you have longs on, you can do a bit more of what I've been doing, which is just kind of building into and building out of shorts in the SPYs and the Qs. I'm doing that via UPRO and TQQQ. Um, Ooh, I didn't add that to the position disclosure, did I? Let's do it right now, real quick. Whoops. Where is that? Anyway, for disclosure purposes, I apologize. I made a mistake that I didn't disclose this in the beginning. I am also short. I'm short UPRO and TQQQ. So again, apologies. I did not disclose this in the beginning. I am short UPRO and TQQQ. I got into those trades on Friday because of the degree of extension there, and I'm holding about the same amount of stock tonight in those things as I was yesterday. And that's what I was just talking about. Into this degree of extension, you want to be selling your longs, potentially building into shorts while the market resets up. Um, and that's what we're waiting for this market to reset up. So tight inside day for the SPYs, but the SPYs still have $8 of extension. That's pretty significant. The Qs here are not an inside day. They actually got above yesterday's high. They're still $8.50 extended. Also not an insignificant amount. We got, oh, was it the high of the day? Oh, that was the high of the day. So this was a good RDR actually this morning, even though it didn't give that much follow through because the Qs were so extended. We called out the RDR on the third 5-minute bar of the day. So you could have shorted back through 369.02, 369-ish versus the day high of 369.78. We did work as low as 367 today, so you could have made a few bucks on that. Definitely not a fantastic trade just because, again, the market held in so well because Apple and the FANG names are so strong. But if you look at the IWM was trash, was very relatively weak, but unfortunately didn't give the setup to really be able to get short in the same way. I had also been shorting the IWM via TZA, I think, on Friday. But I liquidated that position in the close. So I didn't actually keep that one. I only kept U Pro and the TQQQ. But yeah, the IWM with the much more significant price correction back down, so a lot of relative weakness there. You could toss that up possibly to the TLT gapping down this morning. TLT is still above 85, but that big boost we had in the TLT over the course of the last couple trading sessions, it helped your IWM names, it helped your growth names, it helped your, KRE, your regional banks, and your big banks also. So TLT pulling back as heavy as it did maybe has something to do with the IWM weakness, the weakness in the growth stocks, kind of broadly. But yeah, there's really just not too much to talk about outside of the dispersion and the market continuing to satisfy the upside extension that it has in the S&P and the Nasdaq. So this morning's game plan in the morning meeting was unfortunately a boring one, but sometimes that's what's prudent. And it was just not be aggressive. You can pick your spots for some shorts because of the extension, not really do any new long buying unless you're taking it as like a pure day trade momentum trade, which will work in some of these relatively strong FANG type stocks as well. So that's really all I got. So I know it's a pretty quick afternoon meeting on my end for today because I just don't think there is too much to talk about given the price action today. It was boring. It was very tight for the SPYs and Qs, and we need to reset up. So I'm happy to answer any questions you guys have. The first thing, the first thing I see here is from Dave S. For this question, I am using the Nasdaq futures, but I'm providing the numbers as if it happened in the QQQ ETF, so it's easier to understand. Cool. I took a long in the Qs at 120. Let's take a look at what was going on at 120. Okay, so that's right. I saw this come in. It was like 1, 2, 3, 4. Is the fifth 5-minute bar down with a little bit of extension, and then a hammer that came in on a bit of an increase in volume. And I remember not wanting to trade that myself, but looking at it for some of my long positions and saying, okay, maybe I'm actually going to get a little bit of a bid back up here in some of the long positions that I'm in. But you actually took it as a trade. So let's see. I got a great price using the 1 minute time frame. I had already more than sold my risk at the close of that candle, about 30 cents higher. Then after 1:35 p.m., that's when you got this nice little boost here in the moving averages. I sold a little more and only had a single contract left, which I then held for the next hour before getting stopped out at 2:05. Okay, so for me that's a very tight trail. It's tighter than how I would ever trail, but okay. It was only an intraday scalp, and I never intended on making it anything more than that. But even though I had pretty much the bottom tick of the day, I still ended up getting stopped out due to raising the stop right below the 135 ignition candle. Now, as I am typing this up, it's 4 p.m. and I could have had something go my way by $2 when I only took 10 cents risk on it initially. With that much room, I could have modified my game plan and swung a single contract overnight. Would you consider moving the stop up to the 135 low to be bad or acceptable given the information I had at the time? I don't like it. So first of all, you're taking account of pen trade here on the small time frame. You got a lot of extensions still on the daily chart. So I'm sure you recognize you're looking for a bounce here. You're looking for a scalp. That's why you're not greedy on your trade. I get it. I'm totally cool with the game plan. Because there's a high probability that your trade fails. The cues had finally weakened out. There's a ton of extension there on the daily chart. With that said, we do very consistently see afternoon strength in this kind of modern market that we're in, but I totally get the game plan. Um, I don't like trailing as tight as you did because I think that you are begging to get stopped out. I almost would rather just take profit on the way up if I'm going to trail that tight because then I could sell as I see fit into an up move as to getting stopped out on a down move that's going to be so tight that I'm almost guaranteeing myself to get stopped out. So I would say that you had one contract left. You sold the vast majority of your position. Either sell that on the way up also into that equilibrium area, or have it target out a little bit higher that maybe you don't get filled on. Or if you want to keep that little bit just to see what it's going to do, and you're going to trail it, I think you want to trail it right. Trail it with a pivot and wait till the new high actually comes in order to raise the stop. So that's kind of my thought process on it. I say either don't trail it at all at that point, or trail it right, which means that you're gonna risk giving back at that point, giving it all the way back to lows, but it's such a small amount of your position, and you have such a great execution price on the entry to begin with that it doesn't matter. So that's my 2 cents on it. That's how I would trade it because I'm always looking for that bigger risk reward, even if it's just on that last piece. Because if you can really get that increased risk reward even on just on that last piece, and like you're saying, maybe it becomes a swing, maybe you catch a move to 375 QQQ equivalent on that swing. It blows up your reward risk profile on the trade in such a positive way that it makes your trades much more worth it. So that's why I like the idea of always trying to, keep that extra little bit. Appreciate the question, Dave. From Ben Bocus. I shorted AMD at 932. Okay. At 1240 versus yesterday's high of 1340. So you have a dollar risk. I liked that it couldn't break the high pre-market and it was immediately weak when the market opened. I was hoping for a lower close, but it was low enough that I was able to keep some. Looking to cover into the 80 MA on the daily as your game plan. Okay, so it's a good reward profile on that. Obviously, the 80 MA is going to continue to move up. When you use the daily moving average for a bid, do you put it exactly at the 80 MA to the penny or a little bit before? I go ahead of it by a little bit. I go ahead of it by a little bit. What that little bit is, honestly, is a little bit arbitrary. Depends a bit on the time frame that I'm looking at. But if you're sitting like on the moving average itself, I find it to just be a harder fill because you got so many eyes on it. That's what I do there. Good trade, good swing. You got your risk covered. We'll see what this thing does. We'll see what the cues do. If you get a heavier price correction, then you got a really good risk reward here. And if you don't, because this market's insanely strong, well, then you got your risk covered and everything as best as you could. So I think it's a really good trade. Good stuff, Ben. Good stuff, Ben. What else, guys? Guys and gals. Anything else? I expected this was going to be a quick one just because, again, the market today just didn't give us a lot. Um, Good rest day, good setup day. Do you think Trip can squeeze it further on good earnings tomorrow? You're always asking me about earnings before they occur, and my answer to you is always the same. I have no idea. I can't tell you what earnings names are going to do before the report comes out. No one can. The same rules that I do think apply. If you have a really big up move into an earnings report, they begin to price in some of the good news. Uh, oh, it's out already? Oh, it came out. Oh, it came out after hours today. That's what I missed. All right. Well, I haven't seen the numbers yet. So can it squeeze further? Absolutely. Absolutely, it can squeeze further. You want to know what the short float is on it? I don't think that there's a massively high short float on TripAdvisor, but I could be wrong. Um, but yeah, you have a lot of extension here. So if you're already long, I would be in profit taking mode. Trim and trail mode. Maybe you get further momentum. 10% short, not terrible. Not terrible. They could squeeze this thing up. You're right into the 200 day here. CRISPR just came out. CRSP. Um, CRISPR looks like it's down very small. All right, gang. Um, should we stop trading from on the YouTube here from Terra Fra? Should we stop trading before Christmas and just go away until January 1st? No, I don't think so. So the week between Christmas and New Year's can sometimes be very, very slow. And maybe it's a, good week to go on vacation or to just trade the open or something like that. But trading in November and December is typically great. So I think you should definitely trade in that during that period of time. JP Morgan's Marko Klonovich. Need work equities rally won't last, is what he says. But JP Morgan's Andrew Tyler says, I remain tactically bullish. We do not believe that this rally is concluded, but we may have a slight pullback this week. If so, we would buy the dip. So JP Morgan cannot be wrong. They cannot be wrong. Must be nice. From Chris K. Any good ways to view the market if you take a trade like ILFW? If you're trading ILFW, the market is going to have no effect on it. This thing was nuts. Um, you still need trade setups to come into play. I traded it. Wow, you almost can't even see it now. Off of this little tight little bull flag in here, and I was out by 750, I think, or 650. I was up by 650, and it was a good move. I made $2 in this thing, and then I would have took the rest of this. I got shaken out of some stock. I tried a heavy momentum scalp, and I just a little bit too early on this bar right here. You can't really tell on the 10-10 bar. I had already had like a small core position, and there was a seller in the tape at like $4.55. So I put a buy stop in at $4.56 for a lot of extra stock, and I wanted to take that. take that as a scalp because I thought that if they cleared 455, that maybe this type of move, the move that actually happened, would start. So I bought a ton of extra stock at, 456 or 457 was my price. I put a stop in at 449 just as a pure kind of momentum scalp. And I got pushed out. I got 5 cents worth of slippage on the out. And that was like 5x to my position when I was in it. So then when it actually went, I didn't have all that extra stock, so I had to have a more conservative game plan, and I was just all out by 650. I made money on it. It's actually still my second best name on the day, even with the loss that I took. It's still my second best name of the day. Um, but unfortunately, I didn't have all that extra stock because if I did, I probably would have caught the whole move on some of it. These names are very hard to trade. I don't like trading them. It's not my area of expertise by any means. I find that I actually tend to lose money in these things in the long run, which doesn't stop me from getting involved in if I think that the volume profile looks right versus the float. One of you here in the VTF put it on my radar and told me that the float on this thing was um, 5 million shares, and at that point, it had already done more than the float. It had already turned its float over, so you knew that they could run this thing further if the momentum continued to come in. Um, it's still difficult trading. I look at the tape. I try to combine that with charts when I can. Really, what woke this thing up, and I couldn't believe it was as simple as this, because this is how I used to trade years ago, and the market doesn't really trade this way anymore. Is on the 10-15 bar, a 190,000 share bid came in at $4.40. And you could see, what we used to do back in the day is when you saw those big bids come in, you would buy the stock to front run the bid basically and utilize that bid as your stop loss. But that trade, first of all, that trade, you almost never see it anymore. And if you do, I find that it doesn't really work. But they came in with that bid at 440, and I'm like, oh wow, look at that, nice little bid there at 440. We used to call that a Jimmy, and Jimmy got this thing going. I couldn't believe it. Really ripped this thing higher. So you still want to find a trade setup like any other trade that you find. In these names, I find that it's actually even more important to manage your risk because you can get stuck in these things. You can buy the top, you can get stuck, the momentum can fade, and then, looking at the daily chart on something like this, you don't want to be stuck in this because the volume can just go back down to, 100,000 shares a day, and it could dribble its way back down to 40 cents. And who knows if the company itself has any worth or any value at all. Like, you really want to make sure that you got your stop losses in. Um, but yeah, I mean, otherwise you just trade it, trade the trades and trade it technically. Yeah, I am doing the Benzinga pre-market show tomorrow. I didn't think I was supposed to. I thought Scott Ruther was doing it tomorrow. They told me like at like 3:30 today that I'm doing it tomorrow, which I don't really want to be honest, because it's early and I'm on the West Coast. Yeah, and now I probably got to do both meetings because Pat's just going to be getting back. But I figured I'll jump on there anyway. Just because the calls last week on it were so good that I'll get on there and I'll take a victory lap a little bit in front of people who I don't know who they are. But seriously, hopefully maybe it can, drum up some interest for our community here at T3. So if you're in there, it sounds like you're in there. Uh, don't be afraid to say some nice things. Cool. Vern asking me about booking, which I still have no opinion on. Really strong day today. Wow, really strong day today. And Tesla. Yeah, Tesla was showing a little bit of strength pre-market, but this is my least favorite big cap tech stock to be long. I don't like Tesla right now at all. It's still really relatively weak post that earnings. It should run into resistance between today's high and 230. Cool. All right, I'm gonna wrap it up there. Have a great night, everybody. I will see you all tomorrow. If you're on YouTube, hit that thumbs up button, and I'll see everybody tomorrow morning. Have a great night.